https://www.youtube.com/watch?v=zitspocs80. Are you ready for the absolute meltdown of the century? Because the internet is currently exploding, and the timeline is officially in complete ruin. Is a world champion undefeated boxing legend secretly operating a burner account just to obsessively stalk her boyfriend's famous ex-wife? Or are we witnessing the most calculated social media obsession in pop culture history? Welcome back to the show, honey, where the tea is boiling hot, the receipts are verified, and we never ever water it down. Today, Claressa Shields is facing unprecedented public backlash after eagle-eyed fans uncovered a terrifying pattern of timing, copycat captions, and desperate public displays that have triggered total outrage across every major blog machine. From posting identical photo shoots within 60 seconds of Remy Ma to accidentally exposing her own ghostwriting on Papoose's official profile, the mask has completely slipped. The algorithm doesn't lie, baby, and when you're getting outstreamed, outliked, and outclassed while having the entire media establishment backing you, the projection becomes deafening. We're breaking down the leaked timelines, the embarrassing burner slips, the sudden cancellation of that infamous joint birthday bash, and why millions of viewers are now demanding answers. Grab your coffee, turn off your notifications, and drop a comment right now. Do you think this is pure coincidental bad timing? Or is someone deeply, helplessly obsessed with a woman who isn't even looking her way? Let's dive right in. Let us get right into the thick of this chaos, because the sheer magnitude of this situation is beyond anything we have ever witnessed in the history of internet commentary. We need to lay the groundwork for everyone who might have missed the initial sparks of this absolute dumpster fire. The principal figures locked in this messy, public, and embarrassing triangle are none other than three-division world champion boxer Claressa Shields, veteran hip-hop icon Papoose, and the undisputed queen of New York rap herself, Remy Ma. Now, for those living under a literal rock, Papoose and Remy Ma were once considered hip-hop royalty, standing by each other through thick, thin prison sentences and career highs. But as time went on, rumors of severe marital breakdown began to circulate, leading to an eventual separation that has been anything but quiet. Enter Claressa Shields, a woman who has undeniably dominated the physical ring, but seems to be completely getting knocked out in the court of public perception. Shortly after Papoose and Remy went their separate ways, Claressa and Papoose stepped into the spotlight as an official item, broadcasting their romance to anyone with a Wi-Fi connection. But instead of this romance feeling organic, serene, or genuinely happy, the internet quickly noticed that almost every single piece of content coming out of Claressa's camp felt less like a celebration of love and more like a direct, aggressive shot fired at Remy Ma. This is not the first time Claressa has found herself swimming in controversial waters. She has a documented history of getting into high-friction internet feuds, going back and forth with trolls, and letting the court of public opinion get under her skin. But this specific situation has crossed a line from standard celebrity trash talk into what fans are calling a deeply concerning pathological fixation. When you look back at the past few months, the breadcrumbs were already there. Remember when Claressa randomly went live to address rumors that nobody had even heard yet? Remember when she went on a massive tangent about sending explicit, intimate photographs to Papoose just to prove to her followers that he was locked in with her? Nobody asked for that information, honey. Secure women who are genuinely content in their relationships do not feel the burning desire to submit intimate receipts to the court of public opinion, just to prove their man is sleeping in their bed. The announcement of such private matters is always the ultimate confession of deep-rooted insecurity. If everything were solid behind closed doors, that information would have stayed strictly between two consenting adults in the privacy of their own home. The louder someone performs their happiness on the timeline, the more you have to pause and wonder what kind of structural damage they are desperately trying to cover up underneath all that deafening noise. And now the plot thickens to a point where even the most casual observers are dropping their jaws in utter disbelief. Investigative online sleuths, anonymous insiders, and dedicated fan pages have begun compiling what can only be described as a mountain of receipts, exposing a pattern of behavior that is far too precise to be dismissed as mere coincidence. According to leaked digital timelines, public engagement tracking data, and observations from individuals allegedly close to the situation, Claressa's online activity surrounding Remy Ma isn't just passive scrolling. It is an active, calculated, 60-minute response cycle. Multiple social media analysts who track influencer metrics noticed that every single time Remy Ma posts high-end fashion content, a photo shoot, or a casual life update, Claressa drops a suspiciously similar post within the exact same hour. We are talking about matching color palettes, matching energy, and most outrageously, the exact same chocolate bar emoji used in the exact same placement in the caption. Think about the statistical improbability of that happening organically. Out of thousands of emojis, millions of aesthetic choices, and endless music tracks available on Instagram, how does a person manage to accidentally mirror the exact vibe, tone, and text symbols of their partner's ex-wife within 60 minutes? It requires someone to literally sit on a profile, hit refresh every few minutes, wait for a notification, and then frantically assemble a response shoot just to claim space on the feed. Sources who claim to move in the same circles as the couple allege that Claressa allegedly maintains at least 2 burner accounts specifically designated for monitoring Remy's social media footprints, keeping tabs on her location tags, her stylist tags, and her story updates. These anonymous accounts are allegedly used to track who Remy is engaging with, what events she is attending, and how the public is reacting to her content. It is a level of digital surveillance that feels less like standard internet rivalry and more like an unhinged obsession. To make matters infinitely worse, consider the recent photo shoot meltdown that completely shattered the illusion of authentic confidence. Remy Ma dropped a clean, highly polished, effortless photo shoot wearing a striking Balenciaga ensemble. Her caption was simple, composed, and contained just a single name and that famous chocolate bar emoji. It was minimalist, calculated, and commanded attention without trying. Exactly 6 hours later, Claressa posted a photo shoot that looked like it was shot in a completely empty, staged house. Her song choice was Candy by Cameo, and her caption opened with the exact same chocolate bar emoji Remy had used hours prior. But here is the kicker, the absolute smoking gun that proved she was in a frantic, panic-driven rush. Claressa typed out her caption so fast, in such an anxious flurry to compete with Remy's upload time, that she literally misspelled basic words in her own post. When you are copying someone's homework so fast and so frantically that you cannot even run spell check before hitting publish, that is not inspiration, darling. That is a frantic rush job executed by someone who spent 6 straight hours staring at another woman's digital grid, sweating over how to match her presence. And then came the absurd narrative that she had put together 2 completely different outfits in one single day, when eagle-eyed viewers immediately pointed out that the only thing she had changed was her footwear. Changing your shoes while wearing the exact same clothes is not a new look, honey. That is just getting up off the couch to go to the kitchen. Presenting minimal effort as some high fashion statement while trying to rival a legitimate style icon is precisely why the internet is tearing this entire narrative to shreds. The desperation didn't stop at misspelled captions and recycled shoes, because then came the infamous boyfriend account blunder that sent shockwaves through the commentary community. Shortly after Claressa's rush job photo shoot hit the blogs, a comment appeared underneath her post coming directly from Papoose's official verified account. The comment read like a paragraph straight out of a teenage melodrama, claiming that anyone observing this situation was simply jealous, and insisting that being obsessed with a woman who isn't thinking about you is a major problem. The moment that comment went live, the internet collective choked on their drink. The syntax, the punctuation, the dramatic cadence, and the hyper-specific feminine phrasing didn't sound like Papoose at all. It sounded word for word like something Claressa wrote herself while logged into his account. Fans immediately flooded the comment section calling out the ghostwritten mess, pointing out that Papoose has a very distinct way of speaking and writing, and that essay of a comment bore every single hallmark of Claressa's personal posting style. Imagine being so deeply consumed by the need for public validation that you allegedly grab your partner's phone, log into his verified profile, and type out a glowing paragraph of defense to yourself from him, just to trick the public into thinking he is actively fighting your battles on the timeline. The public reaction was instant, brutal, and completely unforgiving. Comment sections across every major urban blog exploded with thousands of people labeling the move as the ultimate display of second-hand embarrassment. People were openly asking why a decorated world champion athlete felt the need to stage romantic defense statements from her man's account, while others pointed out that a woman who is truly secure in her partner's devotion never needs to pilot his social media profiles like a puppet show. The illusion was breaking down, the receipts were mounting, and the internet was preparing to deliver its final undisputed verdict on the entire manufactured spectacle. As the second wave of this digital avalanche began to take over every single timeline, the contrast between organic influence and manufactured publicity became impossible to ignore. This brings us straight into the cold, hard data of this controversy. Now, let us examine what happened on Claressa's side of the digital fence during that exact same window. The moment Claressa pressed publish on her hasty, emoji-matching photoshoot, the massive online blog machine went into full overdrive. The Shade Room picked up her pictures immediately, plastering her across their feed to millions of followers. Secondary gossip blogs, urban media channels, and commentary hubs blasted her photos far and wide, giving her the absolute maximum level of press exposure possible on the platform. Yet, despite having the full power of the internet's largest blog network propelling her post forward, Claressa barely managed to clear 2,000 more likes than a woman who posted completely alone without a single blog repost. Think about how staggering that failure actually is when you look at it objectively. You had the biggest media megaphones on the planet holding you up, pushing your image to tens of millions of eyes, and you still barely scraped past the engagement numbers of the person you are desperately trying to outshine. That is not winning, baby. That is surviving on digital life support and barely clearing the baseline of someone who is not even actively acknowledging your existence. Instead of taking a step back and examining why her organic audience response was so lukewarm, Claressa and Papoose allegedly went on the defensive, launching a wave of accusations claiming that Remy Ma was relying on fake likes, paid engagement, and automated bot networks to inflate her statistics. The internet immediately recognized this behavior for what it truly was. When you are standing in the middle of a public arena with the full backing of major blog outlets, and you still cannot generate genuine organic fan excitement, pointing fingers at the opposition and shouting bot network is the ultimate sign of defeat. Accusing another person of using artificial tactics to stay relevant when you yourself require an entire syndicated blog network just to generate basic public interest is not an insightful observation, honey. That is textbook, high-grade psychological projection. Remy Ma does not need a coordinated blog campaign to hold the internet's attention, because her cultural footprint was established over decades of work. Claressa, on the other hand, seems entirely reliant on continuous drama and blog headlines to keep her romantic narrative floating above water. And even with all that artificial life support, the actual audience metrics prove that the public simply isn't buying the story she is trying so desperately to sell. The outrage escalated even further when industry insiders and anonymous commentary channels began looking closely at the financial and promotional mechanisms running in the background of this entire spectacle. Reports began circulating across forums and leaked channels alleging that the constant coverage on major media pages wasn't just organic blogger curiosity, but rather a strategic, highly aggressive public relations push funded by individuals looking to force this new relationship into the public consciousness as an A-list power couple. Fake reports leaked by online sleuths suggested that publicists were actively pitching stories, sending exclusive press releases, and directly contacting gossip editors the moment any interaction occurred between Papoose, Claressa, and Remy. The narrative being built was designed to frame Claressa as the ultimate victor in a high-profile romantic takeover, positioning her as a fashion icon, a lifestyle mogul, and a media sweetheart all at once. But the public reaction completely backfired against this manufactured push. Instead of embracing the narrative, everyday social media users began flooding the comment sections of these promoted posts with severe criticism, calling out the blatant favoritism, the artificial hype, and the obvious desperation behind the forced media saturation. The backlash soon spilled over into the broader pop culture ecosystem, where cultural commentators, podcast hosts, and daily gossip channels began dissecting every single flaw in this PR campaign. People began asking hard questions about ethics, authenticity, and the psychological impact of living out a relationship purely for internet validation. How can two adults claim to be living in total marital bliss while spending 80% of their public energy responding to, subtweeting, and mimicking an ex-partner who has moved on entirely? The sheer hypocrisy of claiming to be unbothered, while simultaneously adjusting your outfits, captions, emojis, and posting schedules around another woman's digital routine turned the couple into a laughingstock across commentary platforms. Fans who previously supported Claressa for her incredible undisputed achievements inside the boxing ring expressed deep disappointment, lamenting how a world-class, decorated athlete could allow her hard-earned legacy to be overshadowed by cheap, embarrassing internet antics and second-hand relationship drama. To make matters worse, anonymous sources claiming to have intimate knowledge of the situation began leaking information regarding the internal strain this public outcry was causing behind closed doors. Allegedly, the plan to dominate the headlines and position themselves as the ultimate power couple was crumbling under the weight of severe public ridicule. Rather than earning the respect, admiration, and viral acclaim they anticipated, every attempt to flex their romance resulted in harsher criticism, deeper scrutiny of Papoose's ongoing, unresolved divorce proceedings, and continuous mockery of their forced online displays. The public was no longer just watching the show. They were actively tearing down the set, pointing out every prop, every script, and every manufactured moment. The outrage was no longer contained to a small group of trolls. It had evolved into a massive, collective rejection of fake narratives, forcing everyone involved to face the brutal reality that no amount of blog coverage can buy genuine public affection when the audience smells desperation from a mile away. As the noise reached a fever pitch, the timeline hit a sudden jarring roadblock that caught the entire commentary community off guard. The loud, proud, non-stop broadcasts that had defined this couple's digital presence suddenly hit a wall of absolute silence. After weeks of non-stop stories, daily declarations of love, defensive comment essays, and constant video updates documenting everything from workout sessions to dinner dates, the feed completely froze. The hyperactive posting schedule that users had grown accustomed to suddenly vanished into thin air without a single word of explanation, leaving millions of followers standing in the middle of an eerie, silent digital graveyard, wondering what massive internal collapse had just occurred behind the curtain. This wall of complete digital silence is where the entire narrative takes its most dramatic, shocking turn yet, because when a person who turns their entire existence into a daily public diary suddenly goes completely radio silent, it speaks louder than 1,000 chaotic uploads. To truly understand the gravity of this sudden disappearance, we have to talk about the grand spectacle that was supposed to shut down the internet once and for all. The legendary, highly publicized joint 1970s-themed birthday extravaganza scheduled for March 28th. For months, this party was teased, whispered about, and built up across commentary channels as the ultimate proof of their unbreakable union. It was positioned as the definitive event where the couple would stand side by side, dressed in retro glamour, surrounded by celebrity guests, music royalty, and media cameras, effectively sealing their status as the industry's newest undisputed power couple. This was supposed to be the moment that silenced the critics, erased the embarrassing copycat allegations, and proved to the world that their love was genuine, grand, and entirely unbothered by outside noise. Yet, here we are in the aftermath, and the total deafening absence of content from that night is nothing short of extraordinary. We are talking about Claressa Shields, a woman who documents literally everything. She gives her audience full video access to her intense boxing training sessions, her casual late-night grocery runs, her high-end restaurant visits, her outfit choices, her flight updates, and every tiny mundane detail of her daily routine. She is someone who lives her life completely out loud, using her social media platforms as a real-time broadcast channel for her personal journey. And yet, regarding the biggest, most anticipated joint celebration of the entire year with the man she continually insists is the absolute love of her life, there is not a single photo. There is not a single Instagram story. There is no behind-the-scenes footage, no video clip of them cutting a cake together, no glamour shots of their vintage outfits, no red carpet moments, and not even a simple confirmation post thanking guests for coming. Think about that level of absence for a second, darling. Papoose has also completely vanished from any shared media during this exact same window, failing to post a single image, statement, or acknowledgement of the event. The couple whose entire brand strategy relied on proving their love to the public every single day, suddenly went completely pitch black on the exact date that mattered most. The internet's investigative machinery immediately went into hyperdrive trying to figure out what went wrong behind closed doors. Rumors began flying across forums and commentary networks, alleging that the joint birthday bash either suffered a massive internal collapse before the cameras could even roll, or turned into an awkward, tense event where the looming dark cloud of public backlash, unresolved legal baggage, and escalating private arguments made it impossible to pretend everything was perfect for the cameras. When a couple who constantly performs happiness for an audience suddenly stops performing altogether, it isn't because they magically evolved into private, humble people overnight, honey. People who crave public validation do not randomly decide to keep their most lavish moments secret out of nowhere. They go quiet when the illusion they built becomes too heavy, too fractured, and too exhausting to maintain under the harsh, uncompromising spotlight of public scrutiny. The sudden silence is the ultimate, undeniable confession that the foundation was crumbling under the weight of its own artificial noise. To make this entire situation even more volatile, we have to address the massive, lingering elephant in the room that continues to cast a long, heavy shadow over every single attempt to play happy family. The ongoing, highly messy and legally complicated divorce proceedings between Papoose and Remy Ma. Despite all the public declarations, the dramatic posts, and the aggressive posturing on social media, the cold, undeniable legal truth sits right there on the public record for anyone with a brain to read. There is still no final divorce decree in sight. There are no confirmed court finalizations, no finalized custody or asset settlements publicly recorded, and no official end to a union that lasted over a decade. Legally speaking, Papoose remains fully, officially married to Remy Ma. That simple, unalterable fact transforms every single public flex into a deeply uncomfortable, messy legal and moral circus. When you step back and look at the whole picture, you have Claressa Shields publicly boasting about intimate photos, broadcasting romantic updates, and waging online warfare over a man who is still, in the eyes of the law, another woman's husband. The outrage from the public reached a fever pitch over this exact detail, with fans pointing out the absolute hypocrisy of claiming to be in an unshakable, secure partnership while building it on top of unfinished legal business and lingering marital drama. If this relationship were genuinely solid, emotionally mature, and built on authentic security, would there really be this endless, exhausting, non-stop effort to broadcast private intimacy to millions of total strangers? Would there be a constant, desperate need to rush out photo shoots within 60 minutes of the ex-wife's uploads, match her captions, copy her emojis, and type defensive essays from each other's accounts just to convince the public that everything is okay? Real love, real security, and real emotional stability do not require daily validation submissions to an online audience. Genuine happiness exists quietly, comfortably, and peacefully behind closed doors without needing to scream, shout, or fight for the approval of commentators sitting in the comments section. The tragic irony of this entire spectacle is that in her desperate attempt to outshine Remy Ma, establish dominance on the timeline, and prove her romantic victory to the world, Claressa Shields ended up doing the exact opposite. She invited the entire internet to look closer, analyze the timing, inspect the engagement numbers, expose the ghost-written comments, and uncover the deep-seated insecurities fueling every single upload. The total silence surrounding the cancelled birthday spectacle, the embarrassing disparity in organic numbers, the frantic copycat captions, and the lingering legal ties have combined to create an absolute disaster of public relations. The court of public opinion has officially issued its verdict, and the consensus is brutal. The public is exhausted by the fake happiness performances, the artificial blog hype, the projection, and the messy antics of individuals trying to convince the world they are winning when the receipts prove they are barely treading water. The mask has officially fallen off, the narrative has completely unraveled, and no amount of paid blog coverage, copied emojis, or ghost-written comments can put the illusion back together again. The timing has done all the talking.